field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr. his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide. Up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington. No chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fade on the drive.
They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
And welcome to this very special Thanksgiving holiday edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Gobble, gobble. You can find my LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Chicago's Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our special shortened edition of Second City Sports, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I'm giving LaKeena full powers to give you Dumbos to turkey boot.
Gobble, 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 toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game. That's checking us out live right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. But much love to the replay game, checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto, where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We'll be providing you some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, Scott Grayson from Fox 29 over there in Philly will give the Eagles' perspective. They're a little bit worried in Philly right now after the loss to the Cowboys and also the busy sports scene out there in Philadelphia. He's going to be coming in at the bottom of the hour to preview that Black Friday Bears-Eagles game. Of course, we'll have our NFL Week 13 picks. And, of course, we got our Christine back from KXRP. We got our picks, so no worries. If we got time, maybe a little bit of Blackhawks, maybe perhaps, like I said, all this is sort of like time permitting. So we're keeping it short today because we got other stuff we got to do because it's a Wednesday before Thanksgiving. But first, Sid, let's get right to it. Speaking of the Bears, I guess the line for that Black Friday game, of course, it'll be on Prime Video. And like I said, it'll also be on the old WP, the old UPN, of course, is just now playing out Chicago Channel 50. You can watch that game. It'll be accessed all over the world. Both teams are 8-3, but again, it's a little. Some say it'll be a litmus test. Some people say the Bears are going to be playing with house money. Well, like I said, we'll talk about this from the Eagles' perspective with Scott. But yeah, but Dominique Robinson didn't practice. Neither did TJ Edwards nor Sewell nor Tyree Stevenson. Although the Bears offense has been, pretty good too so far. So yeah, so Sid, what's your kind of like mindset into this game?
For the Bears, it gives a chance for you to insert your dominance within the NFC North in them to show a team that's a defending Super Bowl champions that you belong on their same level. Now, do I believe the Bears are on the same level as Philadelphia yet? No, because of the opponents they have played on their schedule. Now, it's not the Bears' fault of the opponents that they played on their schedule thus far. The one job they're supposed to do is win the majority of those games they've done so far at 8-3. On the flip side for Philadelphia, yes, they're the defending champs, but as we talked about all season, LaKeena, especially after they got out to that 4-0, 5-0 start, that this team wasn't the same. And we'll talk about this with Scott Grayson coming up at the bottom of the hour. But what the Philadelphia Eagles' problems on I think it goes deeper than Kellen Moore just leaving and going to New Orleans. Jalen Hurts, we all know that he doesn't like to throw over the middle. We know that A.J. Brown is frustrated. We all know that Saquon Barkley is taking a beating this year, unlike a year ago when he was giving the opponents the beating. And defensively, yes, their secondary in particular has had their issues, but I believe their defensive line only has one. As a team, they have only one more sack as a team than the Chicago Bears. And Jalen Carter, who some people wanted the Bears to draft, they're going to say Ryan Poles didn't draft him. He only has one sack on the year. But despite Philadelphia's insufficiencies, they're one game better than Chicago half a game better than Chicago right now in the standings. So now the $1 million question is, which game is who's this game? Which has more urgency to win this game? I think Philadelphia, only because one, they blew a 21-point lead at Dallas last week, and number two, if they don't get home field advantage through at least the first round of the playoffs, they got to go on the road to possibly Chicago or Los Angeles to face the Rams, and that's not going to be pretty being the defending champ, given the way they play. Even though they have a good record, given the way they're playing, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm not confident in this team right now. I think it's more urgent for them to win this game than the Bears, because let's be honest here, the many of us in Chicago expect the Bears to be 8-3 in this point. No, I think if you're a Philadelphia fan, you expect them to be at this point maybe 1 or 2 losses lesser. But which team should have the more urgency to win this game? It's Philadelphia.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Previewing Bears Eagles on Black Friday. I kind of feel like this is sort of like a setup for one of these games could be setting up for, I don't know, maybe. Jesus, I don't know. Maybe this could be a breakout game for Philadelphia or a get right game for Philadelphia. Now I'll explain why, because again, you still got you got Zach Baum, you got Jalen Carter, you got Adoree Jackson, and we also got Cooper DeJean, Sidney Brown. No, not this Sid. Another Sidney Brown who played at Illinois.
Give me my money.
But yeah, so you got the very young, and of course, you got to think that Brandon Graham will be out there too, because he just signed. Although he's questionable too, we'll get the latest from Scott there. But also too, I think that old line for the Eagles. Lane Johnson, he's out for a few weeks. Landon Dickerson, I know he's questionable. I know he suffered a little bit of an injury, the knee. Like I said, we'll get all the updates from Scott there. So I kind of feel like the Eagles, I know, in fighting, whatever you want to call it, but it kind of feels like this is sort of a setup for maybe this might be the Eagles are kind of due for to kick a team's butts. Not gonna say it's gonna happen in this game on Friday with the Bears, but it's kind of setting up this way, because I kind of feel like, especially after losing to the Cowboys like they did on Sunday, it just feels like they're gonna want to take it out on somebody. And it might be that Bear squad. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but it kind of just is setting up that way, I feel like.
Yes, and that angle should be pointing out first. The second angle that I will give you from the Chicago side, that I believe that the Bears have a chance. You mentioned your first point, Philadelphia's injury bug on the offensive line with Lane Johnson and Dickerson. One or possibly both of them not playing. And the way that this Bears offensive line has been playing ever since the bye week, with Braxton Jones out, Theo Benedict in, and Ozzie Trapella being your swing tackle and seeing some action here and there. And the run game has been taken off very nicely. I know it has, in my opinion, it had a step back last week against Pittsburgh, but DeAndre Swift is running the ball very well. Kyle Monungai has really come on over the last month or so. And the passing game is starting to come on too. Roman Duze is starting to get his targets again. Let's not forget our 2 tight ends, Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet. Now, they did okay against Pittsburgh in that 3-4 defense. Philadelphia runs the same thing. So I expect if the running game gets off the bus running, I expect our 2 tight ends to have a big game. Now, on defensively for Chicago, they got a couple of sacks on Mason Rudolph last week, courtesy of Montez Sweat. But the problem I have, LaKeena, and this has been a problem with the Bears all year, stopping the run. And like you said, with that motivation of losing that 21-point lead at Dallas last week, Saquon Barkley, he's had his moments, but he hasn't had that Saquon Barkley game yet. And with the Bears struggling to stop the run all year, this could be a get right game here. So that right game for Barkley. That's the run defense is the part that I'm worried about for Chicago. Now, defensively, how they're going to attack Jalen Hurts, he's more dangerous out the pocket than in the pocket. Let me repeat that again. Jalen Hurts is dangerous outside the pocket and then in the pocket. If you keep him in the pocket, I think this secondary, which supposedly is supposed to have Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson back. We know that Nashawn Wright is tied for the league in interceptions with his teammate Kevin Byard at 5. If you can keep Jalen Hurts in pocket and you can stop the run, you can force a couple of turnovers.
That TJ Edwards, though, he might be out because he's still struggling with a hamstring injury. So that might be an issue, especially for that front seven for the Bears. It's the same with Dominique Robinson. So I'm a little worried about that part of it. So again, Hurts is probably one of those guys where he could be just as dangerous with Kayla outside the pocket. So it could be a battle at that outside the pocket kind of thing. But yeah, I'm kind of this is so like I said, this is sort of what the kind of game where I'm like, okay, I don't see the Bears getting. We're not doing our picks yet, but I don't see the Bears getting blown out. But if it does happen, I wouldn't be surprised because I kind of feel like this is sort of one of those things where you just said it. Saquon Barkley, I know he had that bad fumble against the Eagles. He hasn't had that Saquon Barkley kind of game yet this year. This could be, especially with that, the Bears. That's the one thing that Bears team is not good at is that run defense. They got the worst run defense in the league. This could be one of those days where this could be a breakout game for Saquon. Now, as far as the secondary, yeah, Caleb again. If Jalen Carter, because I know he feels like he still feels some type of way about the Bears not drafting him. I think so. It might be one of those days where he might be feeling motivated to try to go right after him. And look, I think DeAndre Swift, I think he could definitely get through that front seven of the Eagles. But again, you kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of one of those days where I can see it going three ways. I'll talk about that when we do our picks. But it's one of these kind of games where I have a feeling where this might go. I'm hoping that's not the case, but it could be one of those things where the Bears might get a reality check.
You listen to a special Thanksgiving edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena hanging out here with you for a short time today, previewing Bears and Eagles in the Black Friday contest that will take place this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Amazon Prime, locally on Fox 32 here in Chicago. If you happen to listen to this in Philadelphia or watching this in Philadelphia, I believe it's going to be on your local Fox affiliate, Fox 29 there in Philly. LaKeena, sticking to the Bears side, and let's go to Caleb Williams. He had a very good performance last week, despite the fumble in the end zone caused by T.J. Watt of the Steelers. As I said for the last couple of weeks, Caleb has improved every week. Now, is he a finished product? By no means, he's not, okay? But he's been improving every week all season long. In my opinion, he's been improving over the last two or 3 weeks, ever since that Baltimore game. And I think Ben Johnson's play calling is still in question here and there, but he's starting to get better there as well. If Caleb can keep that same mindset of getting better against a better Philadelphia Eagles team statistically, I think that he'll be fine. Just don't force any throws, especially when you run out the pocket. I know it's 50-50 when he runs out of the pocket. He can run into a sack. He can throw the ball on the run with happy feet and turn it over, or just fumble the ball away as we saw last week early in the game against Pittsburgh. Caleb Williams still has to continue to improve, go through his progressions, which means the offensive line has to continue to do that job well. And if those things can happen, I think Caleb can have a nice performance. I don't need him to throw 4 touchdowns, which will be nice, but if he can keep progressing and go through his reads, and if he feels like the pressure is breaking down, he has to have the internal clock in his head to say, well, I'm standing here too long. The pocket's about to break it down. When I break outside the pocket, I got to be smart and protect the football and make the right play. Just love to see another down instead of starting to turn the ball on for thinking that you have to do something out of your realm to help the team win.
Now, Vic Fangio, you got to think this might be a revenge game for him. And so it could be one of those things where, look, the happy feet, but again, the Steelers didn't make him pay. The Eagles will make it. That Eagles defense will make you pay if you make that kind of mistake. So it will be interesting to see if Caleb can kind of overcome that kind of deficiency, I should say, in that pocket. Now, again, you can run the ball with his feet, but again, you're facing with a much better front seven than he did in Pittsburgh on Sunday. So it's gonna be one of those things where I don't know what like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this game. But yeah, I think this is kind of where they are. I think this is sort of like a litmus test of who the Bears are. And and it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, with all the getting out of the pocket and running and stuff like that. That the Eagles defense is slightly better than that Steelers defense. So if he makes Caleb makes those kind of mistakes, unlike the Steelers, they will, the Eagles will make you pay. So you got to think that you have to be mindful and aware about that. Like I say, Eagles defense you're going to be very angry after what happens. So that might not be good for Caleb, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Pittsburgh actually held Caleb in the pocket for the most part in last week's game. That wasn't the reason why they lost. They lost because Mason Rudolph was sacked a couple of times, and they failed to convert on a couple of down conversions. But this Eagles defense, as you mentioned, I agree, they're better than that Pittsburgh defense. And I think the $1 million question is, you brought up Vic Fangio. How much will he blitz Caleb Williams? Pittsburgh, they blitz Caleb some, but not as much as we thought. How much will Vic Fangio bring the house? And if that's the case, will Caleb Williams be prepared for it? That's why I said a couple of moments ago, Caleb has to be smart with the football, because Vic Fangio is going to bring pressure. And what is Caleb going to do about it? Will he make the smart play? Will he take the sack if he necessarily has to do it? Or will they force it to have happy feet and force it to throw an interception? If those things start to happen, then it's going to be a long day for Chicago. But if Caleb continues to progress, like I said, and be smart with the football, I think the Bears will be okay. They have to get off the bus running first with Swift and Monangai, and let that offensive line cook. And then I think the pressure will ease up just a little bit for Caleb, because Philadelphia, like you say, is going to come after him. What is Caleb? Is Caleb going to be smart enough to make the intelligent play?
It's a Second City Sports on Sports Show Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you, talking special Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving edition, gobble of Second City Sports here in the Hump Day, and our last show for the month. Well, not the month of November, but for this week, I should say. So going to switch gears a little bit real quick and talk a little bit of Bulls before Scott Grayson from Fox 29 out in Philly. The Bulls, unfortunately, all right. A bad loss, I think, would be a nice way to put it, against an
ugly loss against the second worst team in the league. It's just inexcusable. Oh my!
And a short-handed Pelican squad at that 143-130 here. Zion Williamson had 29 points to lead the way. He
actually played.
Yes, he did. And he actually, they actually have 4 guys. Their bench mob actually outdueled the Bulls bench mob. 28 points for Ayo, a season high for him, as well as Kobe White had 24 and such. But Vooch, I believe, didn't play, so that didn't, that kind of didn't help. And the paint points were really an issue here. And the 3-point shot was not well. They shot better from the 3-point than the Pelicans did, but unfortunately, it was the little things that the defense just wasn't there. And if you took the over in this game, you had a nice start to your Monday.
People overreacted when Vooch did not respond to teammates Jalen Smith and Matas Buzelis, who was benched during that game when they were celebrating that 1-point win over the worst team in the league in Washington last Saturday night at the UC. Some people had a problem with Vooch not responding to him. Of course, we talked about it on our show on Monday. I didn't. Last night, Buzelis was bench. Was it justified? I don't know. Maybe Bill Dunphy is trying to pull all the stops to get his team's attention. But we talked about it before we went on live. And Ayo Dosunmu, I'm paraphrasing his post-game comments. It was posted all over social. He said that Billy Donovan talks about them. You mentioned doing the little things, rebound, rotating on defense, and then and playing team basketball, which they were doing early in the year, but they haven't been doing that lately. And just paraphrasing again, Ayo Dosunmu said following the game on Monday that we're like the little kids to Billy Donovan. He tells us to do something individually. Some of us do our jobs, but as a collective, we're not doing our jobs. I said that's a problem. And what Vooch did last Saturday following that win against a bad Washington team, I said it on Monday, and I'll say again here today, that shows leadership. the question is who's going to be that leader outside of Vucevic, whether he goes to 9 in the trade deadline in February. Who else is that leader in that locker room that's going to step up and say, hey, you know, you had some early season success. You let it get to your head. Now that we got to start from scratch, who's going to step up and get back to the basics and do the things that we need to do to become a competitive winning basketball team? Right now, outside of Vooch, who's their leader on the team? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. Maybe you can help me out, or if our listeners and viewers out there could help us. But outside of Vooch, who's going to be that guy to step up, be that vocal leader, say, hey, get your head out of your ass. Yes, we're a young basketball team, but remember what we did when we were 6-1. Let's get back to the basics, humble ourselves, and get back to playing winning basketball and be a competitive team.
Well, they got a couple of days to stew on that loss because they play Charlotte, on Friday. So I think for me, as far as the Bulls are concerned, I think like you said, they might have got a little fat happy after that big start, and I think they got knocked back into reality a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if they can overcome this, because it is starting to kind of get away from them pretty quick. So yeah, it'll be, like I said, I think this is going to be interesting. These next couple weeks are going to be interesting to see where the Bulls will be headed. Are they going to be right there in the thick of it for one of the play-in spots, or will it just be meandering at the bottom? So that's going to be the thing here. What happens these next few weeks right up until we get to Christmas, those Christmas games.
Yeah, because the next 2 weeks, and I think we talked about it on our show on Monday. If we didn't, we'll mention it here. The Bulls played Charlotte on the road on Friday as part of the NBA Cup Series, and after that, you play the Pacers twice, and I believe you play Brooklyn, and I forgot the rest of the schedule. But your next this 7-game stretch they're on right now, you're playing teams way below 500. As I mentioned, you play the Indiana Pacers twice. We know they're going through all their injuries right now, but this is a chance for the Bulls to make hay here. So far, you beat the Wizards, the game you should have lost. You got embarrassed by New Orleans. I don't care what that final score was. Now you go back on the road on Friday against Charlotte. You should be able to win that game there. Use these next 2 weeks to get your head out of your butt, get back to the basics, and play Bulls basketball like you were doing when you were 6-1. If you could do that, I think you'll be fine. But I think I don't want to call it these games the next 2 weeks must wins. But the way they've been playing lately, these are must wins.
Gonna be interesting to see what happens here. Now going to the schedule, we already did the Wednesday's games on Monday's show. So but basically, look, the Pistons won 13 in a row. The Raptors have won 8 in a row as we're recording this. Luka had 43 last night as the Lakers beat the Clippers. And such, and Miami beat Dallas, and Sacramento with a nice win against Minnesota in overtime on Monday. But it looks like Zach LaVine might be going to Milwaukee. We'll see. But yeah, that should be interesting to see what happens. They're going to the schedule real quick. We'll start on Friday, of course. No games on Thanksgiving. That's been a tradition for like the last 30 years or something like that. So these are Friday's games. Black Friday, Cleveland and Atlanta, NBA Cup games, mind you. Philadelphia, they face Brooklyn. The Bulls will be back in action as they face Charlotte. Detroit will host Orlando. That should be a fun one. Washington against Indy. Milwaukee against New York. That'll be part of the first game of the Prime Video doubleheader. Phoenix and OKC, San Antonio and Denver, Sacramento and Utah. Well, this next one seems like a good game at the time. The Lakers host Dallas. That's the second game for that Prime Video doubleheader. And Memphis face the Clippers.
All right, your schedule for Saturday: Boston at Minnesota, Toronto at Charlotte. The Bulls will continue their road trip. They'll face the Indiana Pacers. Detroit at Miami, Brooklyn at Milwaukee, New Orleans at Golden State, Denver at Phoenix, and the Dallas Mavericks will travel to Los Angeles to face the Clippers. And that's your schedule for Saturday.
This makes to finish up the long weekend. On Sunday, you got Houston and Utah, Boston and Cleveland. This should be a good one here in the East. You got at MSG, you got Toronto against the Knicks. That should be a fun one. Atlanta and Philadelphia, OKC and Portland, San Antonio and Minnesota, Memphis and Sacramento and the Pelicans, and Luka and LeBron and the Lakers. That's your schedule for this weekend, long weekend in the NBA.
Yeah, stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with the friend of the show, Scott Grayson from Fox 29 Sports in Philadelphia, previewing the Black Friday contest between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on a special pre-Thanksgiving holiday edition. You're locked and loaded every live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's again IG.
We're going to preview the NFL's Black Friday contest game, a big game in the NFC playoff picture, perhaps, between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. And we'll get into a little bit of the rest of the Philadelphia sports scene with our very special guest coming up. If you have any questions or comments or predictions on this Friday's contest between the Bears and the Eagles, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. LaKeena, get the up on the screen for you.
Happy to have him on. He's a sports anchor for Fox 29 out in Philadelphia. He's the one, the only, the super cool Mr. Scott Grayson. Scott, how are you?
Yay!
I'm good, guys. Thank you. How are you doing?
We're doing good.
Doing fine.
We're doing good. We're gearing up for this Black Friday game. That Sunday is becoming a big game. You know, 2 8-3 teams. Now, what's the mood out there in Philadelphia, especially after that loss to Dallas on Sunday?
Yeah, it's, I think, a nervous one. I think the fans here are nervous. Coming off the game first, it was a lot of anger, losing the game like that, up 21-0 early second quarter, and then to let it all get away. And the way that they lost, the penalties, the mistakes, the turnovers in the fourth quarter, I think that really had people here upset. And then as they turned their attention to Chicago, I mean, I think everybody here kind of looked and thought the Bears would be a decent team, but not as good as they've been. And so coming in here, this, in my opinion, this is a must-win game for the Eagles if they want to try to get back in this position to have the number 1 seed. Win here probably locks them up into a pretty good spot for having no worse than a 2, but a loss, and now you're starting to look at things possibly going even worse to a 3 or a 4. They should win their division. The Bears, meanwhile, I know they're playing for a lot too. So, the NFL could not have asked for a better situation. They have a great game on the schedule that's riding all by itself on a Friday afternoon. And I think, the people here were angry and frustrated. Now I think they're a little bit nervous, but looking forward to this game Friday and an opportunity for the Eagles to try to put that horrible loss to the Cowboys behind them.
Before we brought you on, Scott, me and LaKeena had our little preview, and we were asking the question of what's wrong with this Eagles offense. I guess early in the year, obviously from outsider's perspective looking in, early in the year when you guys got up to that hot start, you could blame Kellen Moore. Now he's the head coach of the Saints. You could blame Kellen Moore for not being there, but looking at it, like, again, from outsider's perspective, it goes deeper than that, in my opinion. And listen to some of you guys, the flagship station for the Philadelphia Eagles earlier today before we came on our air. That was their big question on their show. Who gets more? Which is more of the problem? Why the Philadelphia Eagles offense, the way it's not operating right now? I'll ask you the same question. Can you blame it on Jalen Hurts, or can you blame it on Saquon Barkley? What's your take from your standpoint?
People around here are blaming it. The fans are pointing the finger more squarely at the new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo. I think it's deeper than that. I think there's multiple layers to this. I think number one, I do think that the play calling has been pretty plain. It's been kind of basic. There's not a whole lot of flow or rhythm that this offense has been generating, and I do put the blame sort of on the play caller for that. Now, I understand Jalen Hurts is under center or in the shotgun many times, and he is the one who is able to change the play at the line of scrimmage. So I think some of the blame at times possibly goes to him. This Eagles, though, when you look at it deeper, their offensive line has been banged up a lot this season. They don't have Lane Johnson right now, and they won't until probably the playoffs at the earliest. So they've been banged up on the offensive line. Their center, Cam Jurgens, has been out as well at different times. Came back last week for the first time, I think in like 3 or 4 weeks. So they've lacked consistency up front, which I think has led to issues with the running game. I know people have speculated that Saquon Barkley's lost a step. I don't necessarily buy into that. I thought he got a little banged up a few weeks ago, and he's a gamer. He's going to play through it. He's not going to complain about it. But I think that guy's badly in need of a couple of weeks off. And if the Eagles can win this game and perhaps even get that number 1 seed, I think they need that for Saquon to try to get a little bit healthier by the time they go into the playoffs. But I think that's part of it. Why haven't they been running the ball well? It's that. The offensive line has been messed up and hurt, and Saquon has not been, his best self, I don't think. And I don't think he would deny that either. In fact, I think he's pretty much admitted that, especially after the loss to Dallas. He knows he's got to be better. The fumble was horrible. He doesn't usually do that. So there's that. I think Jalen Hurts' side of it, I think the Eagles as an organization have made it a goal to not run Jalen too much during the regular season. There's a lot of speculation around here that they're holding on to some of those plays until the postseason because they don't think opponents will have prepared well for it. It's a big thing that I think helped Saquon do what he did last year. The threat that Jalen has, and you guys see it in Chicago with Caleb Williams, the threat that a quarterback has with their legs really does open up a lot of other things for everybody else on offense. And the Eagles have refused or really been hesitant to go there unless they really need to. And I think it's a weapon that they haven't tapped into. So, I think a lot of people here are putting the blame on the offensive coordinator, that there's a lack of flow, lack of rhythm with the play calling. It's not like they're doing things early in a game that they set up to then run something off of later in the game. That's what really good offensive coordinators do. And you guys have, Ben Johnson has done a great job play calling, throughout his career. And the Bears are seeing the benefit of that. So I think that's a lot of it. Will it be fixed this weekend? I don't think so. They're starting to hear some rumblings. I'm seeing some reports that the Eagles have reached out to Brian Dable for a little bit of help with some offensive consulting. And I think Patullo needs that. I think Patullo needs a little bit of help. in terms of designing plays and really a little bit of a tutor to help him understand how to call some plays throughout the game, because the Eagles came out early in that Dallas game, right? They did great. The offense was moving. Well, the Cowboys made adjustments like every team will do. You have to adjust off of that. And I just didn't see this Eagles offense, and I haven't all season really, make the counter adjustments when the adjustments are made by the opponent.
Let's go the other side of the ball for a bit here, Scott, because you've had some deflections from that Super Bowl winning squad last year, but you still got Jalen Carr, you still got Zach Baum, Sidney Brown. No, not this Sidney Brown. The other Sidney Brown, he went to Illinois, and also Cooper DeJean. But unfortunately, they haven't been, the defense we saw last year. So why do you think that is?
Well, they made the decision to let some guys go that they didn't want to have to pay for up front, like a Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. They were important on that defensive line to winning the Super Bowl last year. They decided that they thought they had some good young talent in position, and it hasn't worked out that way. Zadarius Smith they picked up. He retired in the middle of the season. They did go out and they got Jalen Phillips. Big pickup, it seems. He's done really well with this team. Last week, not as good of a game as he had the first two since he was traded over here from Miami. Jalen Carter, you mentioned him. I think this defense begins and finds its success when he plays well. He does things that open up a lot for everyone else around him. Quinyon Mitchell, great corner. They had Darius Slay on the other side. That worked really well. Slay left. They got younger on the corner spot. It really has hurt them. I don't think they've had a good second corner out there. And Adoree Jackson has been slowly playing better. He's benefited from, a better pass rush the last few weeks. But then he got banged up last week. And when he was out in that second half is when the Cowboys really started to pick on his replacement out there. So they have some holes. It looks like Reed Blankenship will be back at safety this week after missing the end of the game against the Cowboys. Andrew Makuba is out. He's a rookie safety. So they're going to have to replace him back there. So the Eagles have places where I know that the Bears are going to be looking to exploit. But if the Eagles are going to have success on defense, when they've had success over the last month, it's been because they've been able to get a pass rush going, and they've been able to do a good job of stopping the run. They have great linebackers. You mentioned Zach Baum. He's been huge. Nakobe Dean has played very well since he came back after missing the beginning of the season. And then they had a good rookie that they drafted, Jahad Campbell. The three of them have done a great job at linebackers. So if they can get some good pressure up front, they can win the line of scrimmage. The linebackers do a good job, and it just makes the job easier for the secondary. But if the Bears are able to offset that and keep Jalen Carter from really being a game wrecker like he can, then it could be a little bit of a long day for this Eagles defense.
Scott Grayson, Fox 29 sports anchor and reporter from Philadelphia, is joining us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you, previewing the NFL's Black Friday contest between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. Scott, I'll take a slight turn and ask about your head coach, Nick Sirianni. I know in the beginning when he came to town, he had a tough time adjusting to the media, of course. So going to 2 Super Bowls in 4 or 5 years, and of course finally winning the big one last year, you're the toast of the town. Despite this team's record and despite this team's struggles, as we've been talking about for the last few minutes, how has he, talking about Coach Sirianni, handled the media so far this year?
He's learned to do a good job with us in the media. I think he does a pretty good job of not being rattled up there and when he has his press conferences. And look, he's defending his staff right now, especially Kevin Patullo this week with the criticism he has faced. I think Nick has done a good job. Here's where, it's amazing. A guy who's been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls and 1 last year. He's open to criticism in this city just as much as anybody else, and they have been giving it to him. I mean, when the team comes out in the second half and looks a little bit flat, and their lack of discipline with 14 penalties last week, look, everybody's ready to blame Nick. You've got to have your team ready to go, and he's done a good job of taking bullets for his players, and I think that's why the players like him. I think where Nick has done a really good job is behind the scenes. During the week leading up to games, he's created a really good culture there at the facility, and behind the scenes and in the locker room, they have a good culture going. They have a good thing going. And he usually has his team ready to come out and play. They were fired up, came out like their hair was on fire against Dallas. And then the question becomes, okay, well, what happens? And The penalties, certainly, I think you point to the coaching and the lack of focus on the players. That has to be corrected. So I think, Nick got here and his analogies that he made to the media about growing plants and things like that is something that, won't be forgotten. But you can't argue with the guy's success. He has won here. He has done a great job here. But, this is a tough city, as I'm sure Chicago is. And when things don't go well, and people here haven't, even though they won the Super Bowl last year, everybody here hasn't forgotten what happened in 2023, the year before when they started out so great and then just bottomed out and collapsed the whole second half of the season. And I think people here are still afraid of that did last week start something that the Bears will continue and then carry on into December. That could really derail this team. But no, I think Nick Sirianni does a great job behind the scenes. I think he makes some questionable decisions. There's some fourth downs he's gone for. Times he's chosen to punt that I think people around here, he called the timeout against the Cowboys last week that was a little bit of a head scratcher, because they were barely at field goal range. And he gave them more time to get some more yardage. There's some things there. But I think overall the players like playing for Nick, and I think Nick has done a pretty good job of having them ready to play. They don't come off of losses very often, and when they do, they usually play pretty well. And I would expect him to have the guys ready to go Friday afternoon.
Before we move on and talk to the rest of the busy sports scene out there in Philadelphia, the discourse, I guess, among the wide receivers, AJ Brown, some comments that, allegedly, the rumors and such, Devontae Smith, of course, Dallas Goedert. Is there any truth to all the discourse? And is it becoming a bit of a distraction? Or I know Philly folks are a little bit worried that might be the case with the offensive struggles.
I think this has been my opinion, and I think there are others around here who share it. People are not upset necessarily with what AJ Brown is saying or how he feels. The methods that he chooses to do it, going to social media, going on Twitch, and saying the things he says that he knows are going to get reactions. I think that's a little bit of what people around here are going, listen, man, just come on, keep it in house. Vent to your family and friends, that kind of thing. But don't air your grievances publicly. It doesn't do any good. Now, it's interesting. He went out and had a good game. They lost. There's some things there. But the personalities, AJ is a number one receiver. He wants the ball. I think everybody would want a receiver who wants the ball, because who wants a receiver that doesn't, right? Devontae Smith is different. He's almost like a quiet assassin, right? I mean, he doesn't have a lot to say. He doesn't look to speak to the media very often. We go up to him and he'll graciously answer some questions during the week, but he's not one who's looking to make some noise, right? He wants to go out and let his play do the talking, and he's done that. I mean, what a catch he had on Sunday. He's had a great year again. But I think he benefits from being, the other guy with A.J. Brown, doing what he does on the other side of the field. And then a Dallas Goedert. He's a guy who's just a gamer too. He's a good talker. He likes to talk. He'll talk and answer questions with you. But then, and he's a trash talker on the field, but he's not going to go out there and complain about not getting the ball. He just, when you throw it to him, he makes the catch and usually tacks on yards after the catch. So there's three different personalities there, very different personalities. And in terms of whether or not there's a thing going on behind the scenes, no, I don't really think there is. These guys have been through a lot, from that collapse in 2023 to bouncing back and winning the Super Bowl in 24. That after losing the Super Bowl in 22, the guys that have been here, they've been through a lot to this point where something like this, they don't seem to really let it bother them in that locker room. And those guys know that they are professional. They're professionals. They've won a lot here. The people that have, the players that have been here over the last few years, and they understand that this can't derail a team. They need to get through that. And it's just AJ. I think a lot of them write it off as it's just AJ being AJ, and they love what he does and what he brings to the team on the field, that they can tolerate this.
Let's move over to the other sports team in your great city. I'll start out with baseball. I know the GM, it's not the GM meetings, but the GM meetings will take place in a couple weeks out there on the West Coast. And your Philadelphia Phillies have some prime free agents. At least LaKeena's team, the Chicago Cubs, will one. I wish my team, the White Sox, could get them, but Jerry Reinsdorf is in the way, and I'll leave that alone. But you have Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, Muto and Ranger Suarez as the top free agents, and maybe perhaps the top 3 free agents in baseball. Do you think 1, 2, or all 3 of those guys will return despite the lack of playoff success in the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I think 2 of them will. I think they'll be able to get Schwarber and Real Muto here. Rangers, the one I feel like they could afford to lose the most. They have some good young pitching prospects. They already have a good pitching staff as a whole. And Rangers agent is Scott Boras, and he's going to, he is known as a guy who does not back off. I think he's going to ask for a very high number for Ranger. And, I love what Ranger does. I mean, the guy pitches like, with ice in his veins. He is fun to watch. Nothing rattles him. He is amazing on the mound with how calm he stays through all kinds of adversity, which is why he's able to pitch longer and later into games usually. But the problem for him has been able to stay healthy. Usually some part of the season he has missed some time. And then he comes back and you wonder, is he okay? It kind of sometimes takes him a little while to get back into the groove of where he was. So of those 3, Schwarber's the one who had the most consistent pop in his bat. The Phillies cannot afford to lose that. The problem is, Kyle's going to want like 5 years. I think the Phillies would love to get 3. Can they find a number at 4 that would make them all happy? Or do the Phillies have to go up to 5 to keep him? I think you need to have him in this lineup. And I'd be shocked if the Phillies did not get Schwarber back. JT, the way they know from having him here, JT's value is more than just what you see on the field. The way he calls a game, the way he commands a pitching staff, and the trust that he has from those guys throwing the ball is unreal. And you hear it every time you talk to these pitchers, just what JT means to them. So for that reason, and I think the kind of second half of the year he showed he still has plenty in the tank, I think. Just be what kind of number in years are they able to find, and what kind of suitors does JT get from teams like you guys mentioned out there in Chicago, or the Red Sox or somebody else like that who might be looking around. I think they're going to be able to keep those 2, and Ranger is the one they can afford to let go the most because they do have a young arm in Andrew Painter that they're really waiting to bring up and get into this rotation.
Now let's go over to your in-season sports. We'll start with the Sixers. Kind of similar to the Bulls. They had a hot start. Now they've kind of fallen back to the earth. I know they've lost a couple in a row. Embiid and PG, they can't stay healthy. So do you have any expectations for the Sixers this year?
It's funny. I went into the season telling my kids, and I was like, and anybody who would listen, I was like, I'm just not buying in on this team. I refuse to buy in on this team until I can see a Joel Embiid who's mostly healthy going into the playoffs. And then they got hot, and they started the year, winning so many in a row. And you go, wow, I mean, look at what they're doing without Joel. And VJ Edgecombe got off to a great start. You knew they'd get Jared McCain back. And I think, then last night, I mean, I don't know what happened last night. That they lost by 40-something points. Mm-hmm. It was something like that. It was just awful to the Magic. It was So you go and Joel Embiid's been missing again, and a lot of people around here are starting to talk about, we don't think we're ever going to see Joel be able to play 30 minutes again. Right? They were having him at about 20 minutes. And he was absent in some crunch time when he was playing. So I think there's still everyone around here, are you going to get anything from Joel the rest of the way? If you do, what are you going to get? Are you better with him or without him? Because there's times I think this team has played better without him. And Paul George, I mean, I don't know what, that was one of the worst signings that Daryl Morey has made here. And, we'll see what they do. I mean, they have some good young talent. Grimes is a good player to have coming off the bench. So how they try to mix it all in and what they do, it's just, you have so much money tied up into 2 guys who are giving you nothing right now. And that hurts. Now, I think it's going to hold this team back unless they can get them healthy. And the season is obviously still a long way to go. And there's a lot of time for them to try to get healthy. Paul George will be back. Joel Embiid, he's been over at practice, and you start thinking he's starting to gear up to coming back, and then you see the injury report, and he's still out. You go, all right. I mean, like, what what are they getting from him anymore? And I don't necessarily blame Joel. I think when he first came into the league, nobody did a good job of taking him under their wing and showing him this is how you be a pro. This is how you take care of your body. They just wanted him to go out there and play. And I think it did him a disservice that would have helped him here later in his career had he taken better care of himself when he was a rookie. So I think that's where they are. I don't know what to tell you about them. I mean, one night they can come out and light the world on fire and blow somebody away. Another night they can come out and lay an egg like they did last night. And you go, yeah, that's kind of what it's been around here the last few years. So you ask me, I can't buy in on these guys until they go into the playoffs with a little bit of momentum and perhaps a relatively healthy Joel Embiid. And I just don't know that that's going to happen.
Last moment or two with Scott Grayson from Fox 29 Sports in Philadelphia. He's hanging out here with us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sidney LaKeena here with you. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there listening and watching. Scott, keeping with my question with the Philadelphia 76ers, I usually don't do a hot takes, but I will with you regarding the Philadelphia 76ers. Whatever Paul George gives you at this point is a bonus. VJ Edgecombe, I know he had that great performance on opening night against Boston, but I think that young man is still going to continue to improve. And I think he's your eventual replacement for Paul George. So wherever you get out Paul George at this point, it's a bonus. VJ Edgecombe is your replacement for Paul George right now. That's just my take on that situation. I want to ask you about Tyrese Maxey. He's a top 5 leader in scoring in the NBA. His game has improved over the last couple of years. Talk to us about Tyrese Maxey and his elevation over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's been the funnest thing to watch. I mean, his development and his ascension rapidly to where he is now. He's the guy on this team. It's his team now. I mean, it used to be Joel Embiid's team. I think it's Tyrese Maxey's team now. With Joel Embiid when he can there to support. He is a leader. He leads by example. He plays the game hard. I think that gets more out of the guys around him. And right, that's what you want from your best player is somebody who's going to make everybody around him better one way or another. And he does that. His ability to make some plays and to take over a game and to shoot the ball. He can score from the outside. He can drive. He can get fouled. He can finish. He can play defense. He has a lot of great attributes. He's a fun player to watch. He's the one that I think is starting to put people in the seats. And you look at what he brings. And one of the things that I think that James Harden's biggest contribution to this team might have been when he was here was really teaching Tyrese that step back three. And Maxey really has done a good job of perfecting that, like a Harden does. If you compare those two, he does the same thing. He can get a good step back and get an open three and hit it. And he's really done a good job with that. It's added to his game. It allows him to kind of fake that move and then drive on someone. It's made him harder to defend. I love watching Tyrese Maxey play. I think he is already a star, and I think he's still getting better. He is going to make those younger guys around him, like a VJ Edgecombe, as you said, who still needs some development. He's just a rookie, for crying out loud. But I think he will develop because of what he sees from Maxey. Same thing with Jared McCain, who last year got off to a great start as a rookie before he got hurt. I think some of that was due to what Maxey was already working with him on. So I think it's his team. And I think you'll see his effects trickle down through that roster and those younger players, and that will make them better over the next few years. He's the reason that I think Sixers fans could look into the future and say, hey, there's still some hope that they could ultimately get to where they want to go. He just needs more help too, and they've got to get out from under these bad contracts with Joel and Paul George.
Last question for me, Scott. Let's switch gears and talk a little college hoops. Well, of course, out in Philadelphia, you guys got the big 5 schools out there. Villanova and Temple, especially. Villanova's off to a good start under first-year coach Kevin Willard. Temple has that's the best advice I've seen them in the last couple of years. So do you see either one of them perhaps making a push for the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, boy. I mean, there was a time around here not that long ago that you could almost pencil in multiple Philadelphia schools into the NCAA tournament. And of course, Villanova as a legit title contender year after year with Jay Wright here. And after he left, there really hasn't been a lot of success in that program. There is some hope, and I think rightfully so, that they, in this college sports these days, you can turn things around in a hurry. And college basketball is that case, and you're seeing that at some of these schools. I think Villanova is going to be back. Whether they're able to get back to making a run, getting in the tournament, and going somewhere this year, I think they're headed in the right direction. Temple, I mean, you go back to the days of John Chaney and Aaron McGee, and they were Jameer Nelson with St. Joe's. There's some teams around here. The Big Five basketball used to be amazing, and I think it can get back there again. But they need some help, and these teams need to do better and win. And you're starting to see some of that now. It's early in the year, and you get some of these non-conference games, and every now and then you get a good one that you get to try to see how you measure up. But I think Villanova's on its way back, and it would be nice if Temple would be too. And some of these other schools can kind of follow suit. But Philadelphia college basketball was always impressive, and you knew we had to prepare to have multiple teams going into the tournament in March. Last year there were none, and it was a different spring for sure.
All right, this has been Scott Grayson of Fox 29 in Philadelphia. He's the sports anchor and reporter, previewing Bears and Eagles and talking Philadelphia's sports teams are from the area. Scott, before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your holiday with your loved ones and family, tell us where we can find you on social media.
You can look for me on X at @sgrayson Fox 29. And we'll be covering leading up to that game. I'm eagerly waiting for the Eagles injury report later today, just to see who might be or not playing against the Bears on Friday. I think that's going to be a great game.
Should be a good one. Thank you so much for this, Scott. I know you really wanted to come on after we couldn't get you on. When we do our visual preview. So I'm glad we got happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and hopefully we'll talk to you again.
Yes.
Yeah, my apologies for crossing up that earlier a few months ago, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well.
All right. Take care.
Same to you, Scott. Continue success, okay?
Yeah, same to you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That was all right. So that was a lot of fun. Fox 29, Scott Grayson here on Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Now, Sid, let's switch gears here. We're not gonna take a break. No, we're not. We're just gonna go right to our NFL Week 13 picks. All right, so I wish we gotta work on it. We gotta get.
All right, no huddle offense. Like it.
Yeah,
love
we're
it.
gonna do I'll say we're gonna do an audible here. So I know we're gonna be ending it at the bottom of the hour. So we gotta get right to the nitty gritty here now. Sid, you and Christine are now tied. You had 10 wins. Christine had 9. I only had 8. I'm only a game behind, so it's a little bit of a logjam here. With these in these picks. So should be a lot of fun. Of course, we get a full slate of games because we don't usually do the Thursday games. So and of course the Black Friday with the Bears. So we're gonna a little bit of a chance of a little separation here.
Yeah, just like the NFL season, we heading down the home stretch. We enter into the second half of the year. It's prime time. It's time to separate the pretenders from the contenders. Let's go. All
right. So the first of the Thanksgiving games, and we got a triple header here in NFC North. This will be on Fox. You got for tomorrow, you got the Packers and the Lions. Both teams, kind of going in different directions, if you will. So, Sid, where do you think is going to happen here in this game?
Remember the Lions game came around and the Packers smacked them up and down the field and propelled the Packers to go and do some good things, even though the Lions were a better team. Do I see the same scenario? Not quite to that same extent, but I think the Packers will put up some points against the Lions. The New York Football Giants and third stringer Jameis Winston can do the same thing. The problem with the Packers is Jordan Love has not been the Jordan Love of the last of 2 years ago, and definitely not the point of last year when he was injured all of last year. So do I trust this Packers offense to put up some points? Yes, but I don't think to the point that can upset the Lions. I think by default here, I'm going with Detroit. Jahmyr Gibbs, you saw what he did with those 2 touchdown performances, two touchdown performance last week against the Giants, including the game winner in overtime. Aiden Hutchinson is the only reason why the Lions defense is breathing above water, because I think what it's going to come down to that bad Lions secondary. I think they will early, but I don't think it's going to be sustainable enough. Only because they're the home team. I'm taking Detroit. They're currently favored by 3.
Yeah, it definitely they got to definitely have a pick 'em here, and I kind of feel like this is what's going to happen here. We got our girl Christina for kicks. I mean, we got her picks right here. So she also picks Detroit. I also might as well make it a sweep. I'll pick Detroit too because the Packers are one of those weird teams where you just don't know what Packers team you're going to get. So unfortunately, I'm kind of like with you. I think
that's the problem.
Yeah, so I think for that reason I am picking Detroit. So yeah, but then again, look. That this could be a high-scoring game, folks, or it could be one of these 9-6-year-old NFC Central games from back in the day. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, the second game of the Thanksgiving doubleheader, well, now triple header, I should say, but now this actually is a good one. This will be on CBS. You got the 6-5 Chiefs, who got a nice big win against the Colts after their comeback. And speaking of comebacks, they face a Dallas team that had another comeback against the Eagles. I'll be interested to see what's going to be the mindset of both these teams. Now, just for the record, Christine has the Cowboys. It's going to be a close one. I think Kansas City, just because I think they're a smidge better right now, and I think they're kind of starting to find their groove. So, yeah, will I be surprised if Dallas wins? No, but for this game, I'm picking Kansas City.
I'm going with the Cowboys. Here's why. Because they're getting confidence right now. They play better at home than they do on the road. Dak Prescott was on fire in that second half last week. Yes, they got a couple of breaks with that missed field goal, in the sack, in the fumble punt in that fourth quarter, in that comeback win over Philadelphia. But we all know that the Cowboys traditionally are a better home team than they are a road team. Kansas City, as I told you, I think we'll eventually stick a fork in them, but not last week. And I told you on the show that they'll beat Indianapolis. That's exactly what they did. I think this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to come down to running the football. I know that Kareem Hunt is better this go around, his second iteration with the Chiefs. On the flip side, Javonte Williams did not have a great game last week, but I think this is going to be a game that he can at least put it in his end zone, not once, but maybe twice. Yes, Chris Jones is a great defensive tackle for Kansas City, but if you can control him and run away from him, I think the Cowboys will stand a chance, and they'll take the pressure off of that. That Cowboys defense is slowly starting to turn around here a little bit. Matt Eberflus is starting to get some love down there in Dallas, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think it will come down to possibly a Brandon Aubrey field goal. I'm going with the Cowboys there at home. Kansas City's currently favored by 3.5.
Yeah, so they got them at a pick 'em there. The third game of the doubleheader on Thursday, Thanksgiving night, prime time in the AFC North. This will be on NBC. You got the Bengals and the Ravens. Joe Burrow will be making his start for the first time in like 6 weeks, like 5 or 6 weeks. He's going to be a little bit rusty, so especially they're at home. I know the Ravens, they have not looked Ravens-like, but they've been winning, so that's all you can ask for there. And if they can win this game, they take control of the AFC North. So I think Lamar Jackson's due for another. I know he's been, now he's talking about a toe injury. I'm going to pick Baltimore because I just think they're a little bit better right now, especially, I would say just give the ball to Derrick Henry and just go to town.
Yeah, I'm with you. Baltimore's favored by 7. They're at home. Is a night game. I think the question for me is for Joe Burrow for not in the pocket but out the pocket, because you know that Ravens defense is going to treat him like a rookie quarterback. How much can he do when they blitz him, when they rush him to force him to go outside the pocket? Will he re-injure his foot again? Will he cause to give the Ravens secondary a couple of turnovers? We just don't know. But the Ravens are the play here. They're a better team. I think Lamar Jackson and their Ravens offense will be better. Cincinnati's defense has been terrible, one of the worst in the league all year long. I think Lamar Jackson crew will take advantage of that. I'm going with Baltimore.
Should be a good one here. Oh, Christine also has Baltimore as well for the same reason you said, Joe Burrow's first game back in like about 6 weeks. Now going to Sunday's games. Of course, we're gonna do the Bears games last, so we're gonna do that. Sunday's games, we got Rams and Panthers. It's gonna be interesting where the Panthers mindset is, and it was gonna be coming off a short week, going all the way to San Francisco. I mean, I know they've had a lot of guys. I know J.C. Horn, I think he's going to be out. I believe he's in a concussion protocol. I think the Rams, I know they're going to be playing go across country, playing a noon game. I don't think that's going to be an issue for them. I think they're the best team, I believe, in the league right now. Matthew Stafford is already breaking records again, passing records. And I think Puka Nacua will be in prime for a big game as well. And I think that Devontae Adams, I think they're going to, Sean McVay will make sure his guys don't look ahead. So I'm picking the Rams, and so is Christine. She's also picking the Rams.
Let's make it a sweet 3-0. I'm going with the Rams. They're currently favored by 10.5 points.
Oh boy, that's interesting. That was okay. Speaking of the staying in the East and the West Coast team going across country after a short week, you got the 49ers and the Browns. Brock Purdy did not look good against the Panthers on Monday night, especially you got Myles Garrett, who is 5 sacks away from breaking the sack record, the single season sack record. But Shedeur Sanders, he's going to be facing that 49ers defense. You know that Robert Saleh will try to make mincemeat out of him. So it'll be close. I think the Browns will keep it close, but I think San Francisco is too talented. I think they can go on a little bit of a run here. I'm picking San Francisco.
This is going to be a battle of two fascinating running backs. One up and coming and one that's already established. Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers and Quinshon Judkins of the Cleveland Browns. Andrew Berry, their GM, hasn't gotten much right besides re-signing Myles Garrett. But his staff got the draft pick of their running back correct. Quinshon Judkins, of course, the rookie running back of Ohio State. He's having a very good rookie season for the Cleveland offense. I know they had Jerry Jeudy, but besides Judkins, there's no other reason why you should be able to watch this offense. I know this will be Shedeur Sanders' second start, his home debut start, but I think that 49ers defense is vulnerable. I think the Browns can do some things, but like you said, the 49ers have better talent overall. I know it's an early game for them, but I don't think that's going to matter. San Francisco's favored by 4.5. If I was a betting man, I would take the Browns to the points, but we pick straight up winners on the show. I'm going with the 49ers by field goal.
Yeah, we do confidence. We don't do confidence picks either. So this might be on the low end for me just because of the fact that the San Francisco is going to be kind of, it's going to be interesting to see what happens down there. But we'll see. It should be a tricky one out there in San Fran. Now, I guess you could say it's a good retreat one here in the AFC South. You got the Colts and hosting the Texans. The Colts, will see what their mindset is after. They should have won that game against Kansas City. Let's be real here. And the Texans, they're coming off a bye and 6-5. Sid, what do you think?
I think tough times are ahead for the Colts, but I think there's going to be held off for 1 week only because Jonathan Taylor, I know you had your grievances with the Indianapolis coaching staff on our show on Monday, but I think they're going to feed him the ball just a little bit more. That Texas defense is very good, but if you're the Colts, the recipe all year is feed Jonathan Taylor the ball. It takes the pressure off of Daniel Jones, and it definitely takes pressure off that Colts defense. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think Jonathan Taylor can find the end zone 1 to 2 times. So I'm going with the Colts here. They're currently favored by 4.5.
Yeah, should be a fun one out there. I also have it in Indy, and so is Christine. So a cold sweep. So it should be a tricky one out there in Indy. Saints and Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins have been playing better. I mean, that's all you can really ask for there. And look, will this be enough to save Mike McDaniel's job? Who knows? But I'm kind of interested to see. Tyler Slow's been okay for the Saints so far. Only because they're at home. I'm picking Miami. I really don't have nothing much to say about this one. And so is Chrissy. She also has the Dolphins.
I hate to say it, make another clean sweep. I'm going with the Dolphins. They're currently favored by a touchdown at home, 6 points.
Interesting. All right, so you got the Falcons and the Jets. Like I said, Jets been playing a little bit better. The Falcons, look, I mean, they kind of surprised some folks last week. I don't know which Falcon squad you're gonna get, but I guess I'll take the Atlanta. I don't know. Sure, why not? I guess I'll take Atlanta. I don't know what's gonna happen in this game, but I guess I'll pick Atlanta. I don't know.
The forecast as of right now calls for rain and 49 degrees. I know the Falcons are most dome teams look different outside than they do inside. You mentioned the Jets have been playing better. I don't like doing this. I really don't. These are two bad teams. And given the situation in the NFC South, the Falcons, if they win, I think they'll be a game back or no worse than 2 games back. The Jets, we all know they're playing for a high draft pick with Aaron Glenn's first year at the helm. I hate picking bad games. I really do.
Yeah.
But just to be safe and stupid, I'm going with the Falcons. I would not be surprised if the Jets win. I really don't. I really wouldn't be, but I'm going with the Falcons. I'm going with the Falcons.
Well, these are Christina's exact words. She also has the Falcons, but she also says sure. she with the laugh emoji. So yeah, another bad game that we gotta pick.
Yeah.
That pretty much says it. You got the Cardinals and the Bucks. Well, Sid.
Tampa Bay got exposed last Sunday night, I should say, at the Rams. I know Baker Mayfield injured his non-throwing shoulder, which is his left shoulder, did not return. They better get him back healthy and fast, because if not, their season will be slipping down the slope, which I don't think they will recover from. But with that being said, and Kyler Murray is still being benched, as Christine would say, I think by default here, I think Tampa Bay is the better team, and I think they'll win this ball game. So I'm going with Tampa Bay. They are -3.5 point favorite at home.
I also picked Tampa, so does Christine. So yeah, another avoidable game here. Incidentally, though, our buddies produce will have the call of this next game for CBS. You got the Jags against the 1-10 Titans. We'll keep it short and sweet. Christine has Jacksonville, and so do I. It looks like Jacksonville might have actually finally figured out something. But do you trust them down the line? We'll see.
Yeah.
But at least right now, yeah, I'll pick a Jacksonville as well.
I hate to say it, Trevor Lawrence has more touchdown passes than interceptions, even though it's 14-11. That defense has been okay, not the greatest, but okay. But since they're playing the Titans, I think it's going to be closer to what people think. I'm going with Jacksonville as well. Currently, Jacksonville is favored by 6.5 points on the road.
All right, so you got the first of the 3 o'clock games. You got the Vikings and the Seahawks. The Seahawks, well, I mean, look, I think it's going to be interesting to see, not Jacksonville-Jigba, and then of course it looks like not Sam Darnold, but it looks like Carson Wentz will play, because I know that it seems like Jerry McCarthy's banged up. I don't think Minnesota fans will be too worried about that, but I don't think it will make a difference. Like I said, I think Seattle is playing a lot better, especially after that loss to the Rams. So it's Jigba, he's kind of like been he'll probably have another big catch and such. So I'm gonna pick Seattle, and so does Christy. She also has the Seahawks over the Vikings.
The Seahawks favored by 11.5 points at home. I know you mentioned what their Rams lost 2 weeks ago. The Seahawks got back on the boat with that win at Tennessee last week. They keep the good tides rolling. I'm going with Seahawks at home.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. The next game in one of those 3 o'clock windows. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, I think. Well, I guess it's going to be split. I guess, but Raiders and Chargers. Jesus, God, jeez.
Keep it short and sweet, will you?
Oh yeah, I know, right? I mean, this sure. Oh God, I don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, I'll pick. I guess I'll pick the Chargers. Sure. What the hell?
I'm going with the San Diego Superchargers. All right. The Chargers are favored by 8.5 at home.
All right. And so is Chrissy. She also has the Chargers. as well here. And this will, of course, most of the nation will get this game. We got the Bills and the Steelers. The Bills, the Steelers, I guess someone's got to win this game, right, on CBS. Of course, CBS got to know how this
Right.
Buffalo. I guess I'll pick Buffalo by default. I don't know what the hell's going to happen in this game.
Buffalo's 3.5-point favorites. They're 2 or 3 away from home. They have not played well on the road all year, but because I believe Mason Rudolph will still get the start for the Steelers, I'm going with Buffalo just because. Now, if Buffalo loses it here on Sunday, woo boy, it's not going to be a good day. Up there in Bills Nation if they lose this game. Now, they're losing their grip on with the Patriots in the AFC East race. Now that wild card race all of a sudden gets interesting. If the Bills lose, the Steelers will have the tiebreaker over them with the same record. So, this is a bigger game for Buffalo. If they don't come out with urgency, with the sense of urgency, there's going to be trouble. Sean McDermott, you may be looking for a new home after this year. So, some people said that before the start of the season, but you can put all that to bed. At least for this week, if you come out with a strong performance on the road. So I'm going with Buffalo here.
Yeah, Christine also has Buffalo, and incidentally, that Viking Seahawks game, also the Chicago area, and also as well as out in Sioux Falls, where Christine is, we'll get that late game. Viking Seahawks, since of course it's a Fox single header. Now to the Sunday night, well, this seems like a nice game at the time. You got the Broncos and the Commanders. Commanders are 3-8. Looks like JDL still won't play. I'll keep it short and sweet. I've got Denver, so does Christine.
I think her husband Chris will be enjoying a nice blowout performance from the Broncos. I know Bo Nix has not looked good here lately. He actually looked okay against Kansas City a week or two ago. The Broncos are trying to keep up with the Patriots for the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. The Broncos are the player here. I'm going with Denver on the road. They're currently favored by 6.
All right. Speaking of those Patriots, this will be the Monday night game, of course, December 1st. You got the Patriots hosting the Giants. I mean, I know the Giants have played better, and the Jameis Winston has made them a better shot. But I'm sure Mike Vrabel will make sure his guys don't get caught looking ahead in this game. So I'm picking the Patriots over the Giants, and it should be pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that'll be the $1 million question. Of course, the Giants will be playing on Monday night. Everybody expects them to get their brains beat in, but this is where a veteran head coach like Mike Vrabel will tell his team, like, yeah, they're the Giants. They're 2-10. You saw what they did at Detroit last week. It wasn't for a couple of big plays that would have walked away with an upset on the road. We're at home. Everybody's kissing our ass, giving us flowers, and rightfully so, but you haven't earned nothing yet. This ain't the playoffs yet. This is a prime time of the season. We're going to the second half of our schedule. We got to be ready, and we cannot take anything for granted, because if you do, bad things can happen. So I'm going with New England here, but I think the Giants will give it their best shot at least one more time. So I'm going with New England. They're currently favored by 7.5 points.
Yeah, well, Christy also has New England, and I know they're a little banged up right now. I know Will Campbell's going to be out for a little bit, but they should be okay though. I don't think they as long as they don't get catch like a cat, they should be okay here. Now, of course, last but not least, the Black Friday game between the Bears and the Eagles. Christine has faith. She picked the Bears. What say you, Sid?
You can make a case on both how each team can win. We talked about it earlier, so I won't regurgitate that. But here's what it comes down to. If Caleb Williams does not turn the ball over and he plays within himself and continues to improve, like I said earlier, I think the Bears will win. Number 2, they have to run the football with some consistency with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, as we talked about with, I guess, Grayson. Then Philadelphia defensive line, they can be had. They only have, I believe, one less sack total than the Bears this year. So their defensive line is very much maligned, unlike a year ago at this time when they're on their way winning the Super Bowl. On the flip side, for Philadelphia, this is a game for them with more urgency, as we talked about earlier, because they want to be where the Rams are with that number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Because if they start out on the road, on top of Philadelphia, you saw what happened 2 years ago at Tampa. They got their doors blown out, sending Jason Kelce to retirement crying. But Saquon Barkley hasn't been Saquon. that offensive line is beat up. You're going to miss perhaps 2 starters. And Jalen Hurts, that tush push, it has been talked about as much this year, and they haven't ran it as much as we thought they were going to run it this year. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and stick my neck out there and pick the Bears. I said the Bears will keep this close all week. I said it here on the show again today. I'll still say it here. Philadelphia's favored by 6.5. I'm going to stick my neck out there. I won't be surprised if Philadelphia blows the Bears out of the water. I don't think so because there's injuries on both sides in Philadelphia, even though their record says what they say they are. We looked under the hood of that car. I'm not scared. If this was last year's Philadelphia team, this would be a totally different story. But I'm going to stick my neck out there. The Bears defense got to step up as well as my third key to the game. Continue to put pressures on the quarterback like you did last week. It's not going to be easy with Jalen Hurts. He's better than Mason Rudolph, but I think the Bears will keep this close, and I think they'll do enough at the end to win it. Hopefully it's not another heart attack win like we've been experiencing all year, but I think the Bears will have enough to barely get this done, no pun intended. So I'm going to stick my neck out there one more time. I'm going with Chicago.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. This could be one of those games where because of that might actually help Philadelphia against the injuries. They got injuries in that O-line. Lane Johnson's out. I know Kyle Long has said, well, they have an under 500 record without him, but again, this is a perfect get-right game. I do not trust that Bears run defense. I think this could be Saquon's breakout game. He hasn't had one all season. I think it's going to be him that's going to lead the Eagles over the Bears. I just don't see the Bears because yes, we know all the problems Philly has, but Philly is still Philadelphia. They're still the defending Super Bowl champs. The Bears have not won anything yet. This is going to be a litmus test for them. We'll see how good this team is. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I just don't think that Bears are good enough to win. I just don't. So I'm going to pick the Eagles. It'll be a close one, but I think Eagles will pull away late because, look, that's a veteran squad, and I think they know what they need to do. So I'm going to pick the Eagles. And that is and those are our picks for NFL Week 13. I got a chance to pick to get the whole slate of games. So, always fun to do that. So do a little separation here.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you on a special Thanksgiving holiday edition. We got a couple minutes left before we close out shop. We ended things a little bit earlier today to enjoy the holiday with our friends and loved ones. LaKeena, on Friday, the Blackhawks will do something special for their fans on Black Friday as they'll host the Nashville Predators at the United Center on Friday. I know a few people that are going to attend this game. Unfortunately, I will not be there. I'll be watching at home on CHSN. The reason why we brought up this game is because the iconic black jerseys that they wore throughout the 90s and the last season they wore them during the 2008-2009 season. I know we mentioned it in a short time in our last show, but they're going to bring back the newer versions of the all-black uniforms. And for those of you that are going to the game on Friday, wear black. Wear your black Blackhawks jerseys. Remember the White Sox had their blackout game back in 2008 for that AL Central Division clincher against the Minnesota Twins in that tiebreaker game. All the the White Sox fans wore black. The Blackhawks want you to do the same. So wear all black. Your new Blackhawks, black jerseys. I know they've been selling out like hotcakes. If you had the old ones, the original old ones, like I have with the Jonathan Tays, wear those too. So if you go into the game on Friday, all Blackhawks fans, wear your black jerseys and sweaters. I cannot wait to watch this. LaKeena, I think it's going to be a great scene. Hopefully, the Blackhawks, they've been very entertaining to watch. I know they lost their last couple of games, but this team is very exciting to watch. They give it to you from beginning to end. And I expect it to be a great atmosphere at the UC. I think it's going to be a great game. Nashville's down right now. The Blackhawks are on the come up. As I said before, Spencer Knight is their dude in net. Connor Bedard is having a great year. I expect the Blackhawks victory. What say you?
Yeah, I think this is definitely they could definitely feed off the power of those. I'm glad they're this is gonna be a part of the rotation. Oh, I hate it when they got rid of those jerseys when they first introduced them. Those are really cool jerseys. So yeah, it should be a fun one. I'm sure I'll have to watch find another way to watch it because it's gonna be on ESPN Plus. But and CHSN. But yeah, it should be a fun one out there at the UC as the UC is in the middle of their 4-game homestand. I know they lost to Colorado, but they have Minnesota tonight, so hopefully they can win a couple of these. And I know the last one of this homestand will be against Anaheim. So if they could go 2-2 in this homestand, I think that would be awesome. But yeah, it should be a fun one out there, especially on Black Friday with those cool black jerseys.
Okay. I know we went through the college football schedule in our last show. See our last show for that from Monday, November 24th. But the rankings for the college football playoff came out. What say you? The any of the changes surprise you or nor not?
Not really. I mean, like I said, these next couple of weeks are really going to tell the tale on how much movement there's going to be. There might be some teams that that come up. That, like I said, that Texas A&M Texas game, that's good. That's probably might decide some things as well. And if Georgia loses to Georgia Tech, we'll see what their mindset is after losing to Pittsburgh. Ohio State, if they lose to Michigan for the fourth straight year, we'll see what happens there. Can Miami sneak back in there? So there's gonna be a lot of movement. So like I said, I'm not gonna get why is team higher than that one? Look, there's gonna be a lot of movement between these next couple of weeks. So I'm not gonna get all mad about it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think you'll see a couple of strange things happen here or there over the weekend, but I think next weekend will be the tall telling sign with these championship Saturday with the conference of championships. People say when the field expanded, oh, you're taking power away from these conference championships. They won't have its equal weight. We talked about it last year. We'll talk about it again this year. Wrong. They'll have just as much as equal weight. You saw what happened last year. I think you'll see the same thing happen again this year.
A lot of movement's going to happen, so that's going to be very interesting. Now, college hoops, of course. I know they got this big, I guess, like tournament out there in Las Vegas. Gonzaga's looked really good so far. Michigan had a couple wins. I know Illinois, they beat up some Texas University in the Rio Grande. I guess that's what they. I don't know the name of the school. Like I said, it's like their third or fourth year in D1. Loyola, I mean, they haven't looked good so far this year, unfortunately. DePaul got a nice big win earlier this week. So I think just like I said, a lot of tournaments out there in South Carolina, out in Vegas, they're finishing up their tournament, and also of course Maui, especially. So that should be interesting there. But I mean, some fun college hoops coming up this week on the men's and women's side.
Okay. And just to wrap up here on Sports Zone Chicago, how ironic that we'll end today's show. We won't end it on the downer, but just in the celebration of life, of course. We celebrated Tom Joyner's 75th birthday, 76th birthday on our show on Monday. LaKeena, the news broke, obviously, when we got off air on Monday. Eddie and Jobo, one of the greatest duos in Chicago radio history, next to the Bad Boys, Mike Love and Diz from WGCI. You can name a couple others, Justin and Roman from B96, who did their thing in the mid to late 2000s. And of course, they did their thing at US 99. But Joe Colburn, aka Jobo from the Eddie Jobo, a famous duo, they started off in the late 80s, went into the 90s, came back in 97 through 2008. Joe Colburn passed away at the age of 70 on Monday. LaKeena, this news hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew they were a little bit older than us, but I didn't know he was that old. But they left a legacy in Chicago radio history on the FM side. As I mentioned, they started out as Eddie and Jobo in 1989. They had newswoman Karen Hand doing the news. She was a producer there as well. Of course, we all know what they did in the early 90s until they got let go in 1994. We won't get into the reason why here because we're short on time. As LaKeena said, Google's your friend. But LaKeena, and of course, they came back in 1997, did another decade stint at B96 from 1997 through 2008. They went to the short-lived station K-Hits, and of course, they're also famous for doing those car insurance commercials. I can't think of the the company right now, but they did some car commercial insurance commercials there. And throughout the 90s, LaKeena, they were famous for their prank calls, and that each day was a fun day, like No Panties Thursday, Confession Wednesdays. They had psychic Irene Hughes join the show. They were Howard Stern before Howard Stern. They tested the limits. I remember they locked themselves in the studio one time back in the day. I remember that. I came home from school. I was still in grade school coming on. I said, maybe they're doing a special telethon or something, or they're doing a commercial. Nope. They locked themselves in the studio to prove a point to management and to pull a stunt. They got in trouble for it, but they were back on the air. But this was the soundtrack to my childhood, LaKeena. I don't know about you, but me being a Chicagoan who's a Black American, I'll speak for myself. I'll let you speak in a second. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, for me, until I got headphones, but for me, when I was getting ready for school in the morning, I turned on my little Fisher Price radio, listened to Eddie and Jobo. But when I got in the car, Mom's had it on WGCI when Dub Banks was running in the mornings. I don't know about you, but that was the soundtrack to my childhood, going to school each and every morning back in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, those are I listen to both of them, so yeah, because I
Me
know
too.
Eddie and Jobo, and of course the commercials that aired, they did those commercials back in the day in the early aughts from right up until they of course their second did over at B96, and they were look that whole duo, they were kind of the epitome of Chicago and such. Like I said, they kind of tested their limits, they pushed some of the limits, they even pushed to some limits, but they actually did what they they did their thing, and then look, they didn't really apologize for it. So I think they're Jobo. I didn't realize. I think it sounded like it was Sunday. It's like he wasn't sick or anything, but they were widely popular and such. I think they and the GCI kind of battled it out for tops in the ratings. I think a couple other stations as well. So yeah, I think he definitely kind of like the epitome of sort of like the prank calling, if you will. So don't know if you can't pull off the kind of stuff now that they did back in the day, but you know what? For what it was, I mean, look, they definitely played by their own rules, and look, they didn't apologize for it, but they were uberly popular because of that.
Yeah, and as we talked about wrapping it up here, as we saluted Tom Joyner on his birthday on our last show on Monday, so much as radio has changed since then. There's no. Tom Joyner said this in an interview. Go look it up on YouTube. He did this back in 1989. Tom Joyner at WGCI 1989. Please look it up throughout this long weekend if you had time. He talked about it was starting to change back then in radio, and this is before social media, before cell phones, before all this technology and streaming and stuff like you have now, and Spotify and all this stuff like you have now. You really don't have personalities on the radio anymore. The only show that comes closest to me, I don't like their music because the music is not for me. But I actually got a chance to meet Kaylin Roberts. She's the entertainment reporter and the executive producer of the Fred Show on Kiss FM here in Chicago. I like their personalities. Her, of course, with Fred, Paulina, and Kiki. They have a great mix of personalities, and they're very entertaining. But outside of them, you really don't have personalities on the radio anymore. And when you flip through, you really just don't hear anything. You just have people reading ads and stuff. And that, unfortunately, that's been a lost art form for a long time now.
Yeah, it really has. Unfortunately, that's why linear radio is not, is nowhere near where it should be, especially when it comes to listenership. I mean, podcasts and watching online, like on YouTube and Twitch.
That's taking over the game now.
Yeah, so that's really one of the reasons why it's kind of I don't want to say it's a dying art form, but it kind of is. But yeah, rest in peace to Jobo, Jobo Colburn, of course, the Jobo of Eddie and Jobo, Softer Person's family, and of course, I know Eddie Volkman. I know he shared a very heartfelt tribute on his social media. So yeah, so check that out if you can. But yeah, the rest in peace to him, and prayers to him and his family.
Yes. And before we jet up out of here, we'd like to say happy Thanksgiving to you and your loved ones. I know yours truly and many people, not everybody, but a few people that are really going through it much tougher than I am. But, you don't have as many loved ones, especially when you get up there in age like we are. You appreciate the ones that you have with you, cherish them, celebrate them, show them some respect and love that they deserve, because now everybody has loved ones, especially at this time of year. I know it could be tougher for a whole lot of people, but the ones that are in your life, appreciate them, not just during the holiday season, but every day.
Well said. Real quick, of course, NBC Sports Network, of course, is now Sid. Now you got it. Now it's on Xfinity. They just did that.
Yeah, channel 1211. Yay!
Yeah. So
Thank
I know.
Egress, friend of the show, that tweeted that out yesterday. So I found it, and it's on there. I'm watching it right now. The Dan Le Batard Show.
Nice. And also
the replay. Anyway.
Yeah. And also, Elle Duncan. Big news here. She is leaving ESPN to go to Netflix. So. Yeah, that's the real quick. What do you think about that, dude?
Yeah, very surprising. We know Netflix, as we talked about, this is their second year doing Christmas Day games for the NFL. They hopping into baseball, even though it's going to be 3 events for the next 3 years. Netflix is trying to get into the live sporting events, so I'm sure they're going to do some more boxing stuff as well. I know that Mike Tyson thing and Jake Paul. It was a disaster because it was fixed. I don't care what anybody says, but they're going to get into more of that. So I saw that. I'm not going to sit here and say I saw that coming, but I'm not surprised because they're trying to get into live sports. You see what Amazon is doing. So with the NBA, of course, with the NFL airing some live games. So Netflix is trying to get into the game. So they need some reputable people to hold down their studio coverage. And it's starting with her. So we'll see what they're going to do with her going forward.
And Paramount is a favorite to land Warner Bros. Discovery's array of channels, especially their TNT Sports. We know that Spiro Dees for the show is a part of both, and also as well as Kevin Harlan, Iron Eagle. So if they end up getting that, I think this could definitely help them in those NFL negotiations. Should they? Well, the NFL will, they will perhaps do it again, but they should definitely give Paramount a leg up, especially if they because they're working together anyways, CBS and TNT. So I figure, hey, might as well make it just, make an actual partnership.
Yeah, strength are in numbers, and leverage is the name of the game. And like you said, CBS, what happened? They purchased Warner Brothers Discovery.
All right, so you follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execute again at IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, since we're going to be off on Friday, of course, this is your time to catch up on the replays of if you missed our interview with Fox 29 Scott Grayson earlier, or if you missed our picks or your college football preview for Monday. Use this long weekend to catch the replays on Sports Chicago's Facebook YouTube channels. Of course, you can catch not just our show, but also Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much more. So if you haven't been watching our show live, don't worry. This is the time you can catch it on the replays on Sports Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
Again, thanks so much to Scott Grayson from Fox 29 from in Philly for joining us. It should be a fun game out there in Philadelphia. Also, to you, of course, you got all your college football as they finish up getting ready to finish up their season or gearing up to finish up their season, the penultimate week to the season. College hoops, a lot of holiday tournaments going on. As I said, we'll see if there's any more big baseball news that breaks over the weekend. It might happen. Will involve one of the Chicago teams. We'll see. And of course, there's so much more. So have a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe out there. Forrest said, I'm the kids with Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Da Bears. Holla.